The NHS doctors even told me that if I hadn't come to see them, I could have been dead within a week, easily. I could have dropped dead at any moment, as it was. Yeah, it was life-saving, really. Hi, I'm Robert Jones, and I'm a farmer. Took a back seat recently and retired. And I like sports fishing, I like sailing, I like skiing, reading, walking, and mountain biking. I've always loved biking, actually. It's been a bit of a fun thing to do. As I was saying earlier, it's great sort of sense of freedom, and the modern technology, the sprung axles and the bike are so good. So even on rough roads, they're quite comfortable to ride. I got a bike a few years ago, and then I decided to buy a house in Spain about 10 years ago, but it's on quite a steep hill, almost a cliff going up from sea level. So having a bike there was not optimal because it was sort of steep hills. So I ended up getting an electric mountain bike there. I'd been out for a ride on my bike early in the middle of the summer, and I was coming home. I was riding along the road, and having got up a steep hill, I would have probably came across some mountain goats. So I wouldn't have been particularly fast, but they would have knocked the front wheel, and I've hit a lamppost quite forcefully. It was enough impact to split my helmet and break it, even though it was a good quality one. And I bounced off the lamppost and went back into the road, and that caused me to be quite severely injured with my head. And I was found by my neighbour 3 hours later. They called an ambulance, and that took a little while, sadly, to get me to the hospital. About 2 hours, believe it or not. And then from there, they assessed me and said, this needs, more serious care. So I was taken to the main hospital in Granada in Spain, and that took another hour. So it was basically about 7 or 8 hours by the time I was seen by a specialist. So I arrived there, and I was pronounced to have a severe traumatic brain injury, grade 3 diffusional axal injury, which is the worst you can get, and around 50% of people die of either of those things. Yeah, I did quite well there, actually. I had good treatment, and I came good. And so 2 months after my accident, I was in Granada to see my neurosurgeon who looked after me. And he had just organised a scan for me in Spain. And the results of that were slightly concerning for him. They knew that my left-hand side of my brain had been quite affected, and that not got any worse. In fact, it slightly improved. And the right-hand side had also been damaged, but much less so. But that was showing a possible build-up of a fluid and a potential problem. So I wanted to come back to the UK, and he said, "You got no problem flying, it'll be safe, but I highly recommend you get a scan within a month of getting back to the UK, because if you don't, it could be a problematic thing building for you." So I took that on board, and I came back to the UK, and I went to the local doctor and asked to be seen by a specialist and hoped to get a scan on the NHS. She agreed that I was an urgent case, and I asked how long it would be before I was able to see somebody, and they said probably about a month. And I thought, well, that's a bit worrying, so I thought I'd leave it for a couple of weeks just to see how things panned out and whether I actually had any communication from the NHS. Nothing turned up, so that's when I started looking to find a private scan somehow. And I Googled scans or private scans, and scan.com came up. I used their very easy system to find a private scan. And so I booked a scan up in London, actually. So I had the scan, and then the next morning, the doctor from scan.com rang up and said, whatever you're doing, get to hospital. You have a very serious condition, and take your toothbrush. You're going to be some time. So I immediately then went to Southampton University Hospital. Said to the doctors there, I've had a private scan and I need to be looked at urgently, apparently, which they did look at me, and then gave me their own scan, a CT scan actually there. And they said, yes, this is extremely urgent. We need to operate on you. We need you in here now. I had a double craniectomy where they basically cut holes in the right-hand side of my skull. And then they flushed out it's like a blood clot that had gone hard, really. So it took a while to clean it out, but it had put enormous pressure on my brain. and the brain was herniating, which was really dangerous. Quite a traumatic experience, really. I remember them being quite surprised that I was able to walk in there and talk. So I was in for only actually for about 3 or 4 days, and I was quite happy to leave earlier than perhaps I would have normally. So, I was a little bit sort of wary and nervous when I first thought about, am I able to get a scan myself? Am I advised doing this? I mean, is it sensible or, Now I think it's brilliant because it takes away that waiting and it takes away that stress. So if you have a specific concern about, I don't know, whether it be a knee or a back or something, I'd be very much more inclined to go down the scan.com route. And also the value, because I always thought these things could cost thousands, but actually it's hundreds, and that makes it much more sensible economically wise. And just for the peace of mind, it was excellent actually. So not only do you get a scan, you get referred easily, it's easy to book, you get your scan done quickly, and then you get the follow-up report on the scan that you've had. So I think it's a really good service. I've been very happy with being able to take control of things. Yeah, it's been quite a journey for lots of different reasons. If I hadn't used scan.com, and if I hadn't got my own private scan, I could well have died. It was quite a life-threatening system there. So I'm very glad I did it. It's been an emotional roller coaster for my children especially, and being daughters, they're more caring perhaps than sons would be. I don't know, but they're amazing, and they've been a huge inspiration. Every moment is precious, That's I've been through the loop with this last 4 months, 5 months actually since my accident. However, I'm walking, I'm talking. The only thing I've lost is my sense of humour, which I haven't really. I'm very lucky, and I'm lucky to be alive. And I think that's just one of those things. It makes you perhaps a better person, really.